All right. Hey, this is Henry at Up at Night Studios. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, you know what? Tonight I've got some information for you guys. Had you ever thought about getting out of the federal tax system legally? Well, I'm going to give you some information for your head, and we're going to see where you go from there. Give me just a minute, and we'll come back in just a second. All right, I'm back from Up at Night Studios. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, this is Henry Harris, your host on Up at Night Studios. I got some real good information for you guys. If you ever decided that you wanted to get out of the federal tax system, this is probably the best time, if any. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to finally get some information that makes sense. And hopefully, you can become a legal non taxpayer. And what do I mean by that? That means you can legally stop paying the federal income tax, right? Legally. I'm not saying stuff underhanded. I'm not talking about doing things underhanded, but I'm talking about doing things legally where you can just forget about April 15th for the rest of your days. Now, I know you've worked every day trying to keep your money. And every time you get them big old paychecks, you say, man, I worked so hard. And man, they hit me hard for these taxes. Man, I wish I didn't have to pay them taxes. Well, you are in luck. I'm getting ready to share some information with you that'll probably get your head spinning. And you'll turn around and you're going to say, you know what? Man, that's some great information. Man, I got to check this out. I got to find out for myself, which I want you to do, by the way. I don't want you to be the kind of person to just hear everything and don't check it out for yourself. I'm going to tell you some things that you could check out for yourself. And then, when you do your due diligence and you see what I'm talking about, you'll start really agreeing with me because I'm going to be sharing some stuff with you that you ain't never heard of. In fact, when I'm about to tell you 99% of all Americans have not heard of this, and you're going to be, wow. Okay, so hear me out. First of all, if you like what I'm about to tell you, and I would love for you to subscribe to my channel under Up at Night Studios, give me a thumbs up and tell me how much you appreciated the information that I'm about to give you. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of paying taxes, here's a way that you can do it legally. Okay. So let's start off. First of all, what you need to do, you need to get what they call is a uh, revocation of election. It's a document that's put together to allow you to actually file this paperwork with the Internal Revenue Service and actually stop filing or voluntarily paying the income tax. All you say is just that serious, huh? You really serious about that? I'm gonna get in trouble if I try that. You think so? All right, look. Let's face it, folks. All your life, you've been following someone else because either your mom and your dad or your friends or your sisters or your brothers or somebody that you was raised around was paying the income tax on a yearly basis. Every year, income tax season comes around, and you'll know it by it's it around because people start talking about it. I can't wait to get my taxes back. We got to file these taxes. April 15th every year, people are deciding that they want to file this 1040 form so they can get their money back, right? Well, what would happen if you didn't have to file a form and you kept all of your money during the year rather than give it away to the government? And what that is slavery, folks. This let's call it what it is. It's called slavery. And you're slaving to work to keep your money, to keep your family together, to feed your family. And you're actually giving your money away voluntarily because that's the way it was, and you decided to do it. And I guess you say, well, how could I have decided to do this when everybody's getting their taxes taken out, including me? The job takes it out. Well, the job takes it out on one reason, for one reason. You remember when you got hired by that job and you sat down and you negotiated with that job and you said, um, I like the hours, I like the benefits. The job turned around and said, well, we would appreciate if you come work for us. We'll give you 40 hours a week or whatever it is, and we'll pay you $10, 15, $20 an hour to come work for us. And you know what? We'll even give you a 9 to 5. If not, we have a night shift that you could join. And if you decide you want to work nights, that's even better because you don't have the traffic. Now they're going to try to give you some ways to get to this job or to make up your mind on which one you want because they're going to make it enticing. And yeah, we offer some benefits too. Don't forget about that. Hospitalization, you know, if you get sick, holiday pays, a lot of the jobs, you get vacation time. Once a year, you get 2 weeks, or, as you stay in following the years, you get, 2, 3 weeks after 10 years or something like that. So you really do. You look at the benefits, you look at what it's giving you and offering you, but you've never really sat down and thought about the taxes. Now, they really didn't talk about taxes to you. They didn't. And the reason I said that is because when you sat down and talked to this job, a particular job that you wanted to work for, um, they hired you based on you guys reciprocating with each other, and agreements were made that you would come and work for them, and they offered you a salary or they offer you an hourly pay. Did they not? Yes. Okay. And you like the sound of that and you like the benefits. But in order to finalize the deal with this employer or whoever you decide to work for, HR had put together a bunch of paperwork that they had to send you or have you fill out before you was officially working for that company. And that all included with the benefits that they offer you. And don't forget, they offered you the W-4s. They threw in that. They say, fill this out, fill this out. And you decided to go with it. And you fill it all out. And you actually told the company how much money did you want to bring home and how much money did you want to give away. I hate to say it that way, but that's what you did. You decided to give away some of your money. You didn't see that little word called exempt on the bottom. You just thought, well, maybe I could take this many deductions and add this many, what they call them, I forgot what they call them, numbers to keep them taking less money out of my check. And some people are paying $500-600 a paycheck, $400-500 a paycheck, $800 a paycheck. Man, you make a lot of money, but they take a lot of money from you. And it seems that when you're working, especially when you're working over 40, your overtime and everything else, it seems like the more you put in, the more they take, doesn't it? Can you agree with me on that? Okay. I'm sure you can agree with me. And the reason that is because you decided that they was going to get some of your money because you made 2/3 of the majority. You decided that I'm going to write this in and give it to them. When all of the time you had an opportunity to go exempt and keep every penny. Now, the company only is doing what you said. You told the company that I want to take just some of this money and send it to the federal government. So why don't you take it for me out of my check and send it to them because I'm okay in it right here on this form. And that's exactly how that happened, folks. You okayed it. You said it was okay to pay this thing. Ain't that something? Okay. So now that you decided to okay it, you start making your money. You get up every day, 4 day in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning to get to this job by 6 or 7 or 8. Whenever it was either 8 to 3:30 or 8 to 5 or whatever it was. You worked and you worked every day. And at the end of the payroll, you expect to get paid either every 2 weeks or once a week. And you've decided to let them deduct so much money from your labor that you wanted to voluntarily give it up. Now, what I want you to consider is this: what type of benefits were you getting for paying this money to the federal government? I mean, really, really seriously, think about what are you the benefits are you getting? What benefits are they offering? Are they offering you any type of benefits such as what the job was giving you, like health care, dental, um, vacation? What type of benefits are they giving you for taking your money or you giving it away? Are you getting any benefits from that? And if you said yes, then I advise you to start thinking about doing something else because you're not getting any benefits. The benefits is nothing, zero. The job is offering you benefits. Now, folks, think about it. The job that hired you are the ones that need your help. They need your help in order to prosper. So, you giving them 40 hours of your time, they're compensating you for those 40 hours that you gave up. Didn't say anything about giving up your money, but you chose to give it up. You chose to give them that money. And so, therefore, millions of people that go to work every day are disappointed with their paychecks because of all of the funding and the funds that are being taken out of your paycheck. And you're wondering why all that money is taken out. The real reason is that you allowed it to happen. You decided that you wanted to pay the federal income tax, which is fine if that's what you want to do. That ain't my argument at all. If you decided that that's what you wanted to do, then it's perfectly legal for you to do that because you perfectly said that you wanted that to happen. But there's also another side to the fence, and it's perfectly legal for you not to do it if you don't want to do it. Just as easy as it was for you to give it away, it's easy for you now to keep your money, and it has been for a long time. But we, especially usums, have never knew any other way because this is how we were taught. This was how we were raised. You go to work, you go to a job, you pay your taxes. And nobody has ever said, why do we pay taxes? Why do we pay? What's the real reason behind it? Nobody's really came up with that answer. And if you ask your people, your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, your friends, you can ask them, what is the reason we pay taxes? Some people will come up with the ideas that, yeah, we got to pay taxes to survive, or we got to pay taxes because the government said that we had to pay taxes, or we got to pay taxes because they need to have the roads built. Those are all lies because every penny that comes out of your paycheck goes straight to the treasury to pay the deficit that America or that the United States government has borrowed. They borrowed that money and they expected you to be part of the debt by helping them pay the debt. through your labor because you decided to voluntarily give them that money. Now, you didn't know that. Now, there is a thing, folks, that's called the revocation of election. The revocation of election allows the average American to unvolunteer the tax system. It allows you to wait legally to come out of taxation and begin to keep your money because you could change your tax status on your job. Your job has nothing to do with it. They just provide the forms for you, and you could change that yourself. You didn't know that, did you? So if you want to change that, you could change that. It just depends on what you want to do, how you want to do it. And if you decide that's what you want to do, then you can do it. You could change that. Your job would have no problems changing that status for you. And all you got to do is say, this is what I want to do. Promise you. Oh, you have that choice. You always had that choice to not pay the federal income tax. Now, let me read something to you. This is some information about called the revocation of election. And the revocation of election is this: according to the IRS and the Internal Revenue Code, which is called the IRC, Internal Revenue Code, filing a revocation of election notice with the IRS allows about 99% of all state citizens. Now, let me say this before I go any further. A state citizen is a person who lives outside of the United States. Now, I know that kind of went over your head a little bit. I know it did. But what is the people that are outside of the United States? Okay. There are such things as territories. You ever heard of Guam, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa? Those are all territories of the United States. Were you born in either one of those places that I just mentioned? If the answer is no, that means you're not part of the United States and a part of the territories. The true United States is located, watch this, in Washington District, Columbia, D.C. That's where the United States is located. And you live outside of the United States. You don't live in the United States. Those people that are in those territories and those people that live in the United States, which is Washington District, Columbia, they are liable to pay the federal income tax because they are part of the federal government, U.S. And all those people have to pay taxes that live there. Now, the jurisdiction is where everything falls in. So let me kind of help you a little bit. If you weren't born in the United States, you was born in the state of the Union, which is either San Francisco, California, those are states. And then you got the state of California, you got Indiana, you got Chicago, Illinois, you got Detroit, Michigan, and all these places are states or called State of the Unions. When the president comes on, he says, I'm going to do a State of the Union address. He's talking to people that live outside of DC, State of the Union. He is talking to people that are they call it the private sector, which is where we live, in the private sector. So, in order to be part of the United States, you have to live in the U.S., which is the District of Columbia, or in those territories which I mentioned. Or you could voluntarily become part of that by way of taxation or filing a 1040 form. So when you file a 1040 form, folks, if you ever looked at the top of it, it says federal individual income tax. Federal. Ask yourself this question. Are you a federal government employee, or do you work for the federal government? If the answer is no, then you could legally not volunteer to pay it. Legally. Well, so-and-so went to jail, and, I'm afraid that's because they filed the dumb 1040 forms and they tried to swindle monies and numbers on that form. And then when the federal government caught up on it, it's called tax evasion. And they used that particular form to get them in court and to get them for filing or doing the wrong things on those forms, on those government forms. And not only that, when you sign those forms, you actually obligated yourself to create a contract, and you waived your Fifth Amendment privileges at the same time, which is witnessing against yourself. And you decided to give them information freely, and you swore on the affidavit at the bottom under penalties of perjury that everything on this form is true. And that's how they got you. Now, that's the truth. Now, I know that's kind of a hard pill to swallow for some folks, but let's face it, folks, it's the truth. You don't have to take my word for it. You can begin to ask questions to the Internal Revenue Service like, can you show me the statutes and implementing regulations which make me liable to file a 1040 form or to pay a tax? I did it. I did that very same thing. I'm telling you. You could ask that question. If you don't ask that question, then how would you ever know? And if for some reason they can't answer you, something must be wrong with that picture, because the way I looked at it was, if they have the legal authority to do what they do, they should always have the answers for me as a taxpayer. If I have questions about tax, they should be able to tell me everything that I need to know when I ask them a question. If for some reason they go around and say they can't tell you, or, let me get back with you, or that's a good question, maybe I can answer some other time, or something to avoid telling you the truth, and maybe sometimes they may not know, but there's somebody in the upper echelons know the answers to whatever questions you ask. So I would be diligent to ask questions. And there ain't nothing wrong with asking questions, folks. That's the problem. We don't ask questions. They want you to sign everything, but they never ask you. You never ask questions. You just go along with the party as if, man, they right all the time. Try to ask questions. It ain't going to hurt to ask. That's what my mother used to say. You're always asking questions. Yes, ma'am, I sure do. I want to know. Okay? So, okay. Back to this. Revocation of election notice with the IRS allows 99% of all state citizens to become non-taxable with no legal obligation to file a Form 1040 individual income tax return or pay a federal income tax. You heard it. That's right. Up at night, I'm telling you the truth. Okay? The original Constitution, the Supreme Court, and certain United States tax court rulings have proven that state citizens, which is what we are, of the Union, are not subject to or liable for filing a Form 1040 federal individual income tax return, and nor are state citizens liable for paying a federal income tax. A fact, the IRS Form 1040 tax return preparers and foreign banking families receive income tax dollars prefer most citizens in the U.S. never realize. How about that? Thousands of people have sent the IRS their revocation of election, which is the ROE, which is what I'm talking about. Those are documents, and have never heard from the IRS since doing so. So, legally, the IRS or Congress has made a way for us who opted in the tax code to pay taxes can opt out. You can do that voluntarily anytime. You can come out of that. Okay. Congress makes and passes tax laws, not the IRS. The IRS has no dealings with legal non-taxpayers. Filing a 1040 tax return for most all state citizens is only voluntary, but not legally required or mandatory. So, folks, I'm giving you some real live information that you didn't know. Okay. Also, if a citizen, American national or American national, which is what we are, if you're American national, means you don't live in the United States, you live outside of the United States, then you're considered an American national. Okay. Or what we call a state citizen. So you have a way of actually not doing certain things legally, and you have every right to do so. And you didn't know that. I know you didn't know that, but that's okay. Okay. So look, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then you're going to keep on doing it every year the same way. You always going to be worried about how much money you're going to get back. If you always kept your money, why would you even file a 1040 form? The only reason why you do it is because you be trying to get your money back. That's most folks. They try to get their money back. They say we're going to file our taxes and we're going to get $20,000 back or $10,000 or $5,000. Then I can go buy me a car, girl. Oh man, look, when I get my money back, man, I'm going to buy me a new car or I'm going to buy some furniture. You ever notice that they always want you to do this rapid refund? That's to entice you to come in and file those forms so they can make some money. And so they can get you some money back faster. But that doesn't guarantee that you go get all that money back when you thought you did. And some folks never get their money back. They done paid into the scam of the system, and they never get their money back. They just messed up. They be, man, I was dependent on that money. Why? Why were you dependent on the money? Didn't you know the federal government lies to you? Okay, now you know. Sorry to bust your bubble. Okay. Now, if a state citizen, American national, does not work in a federal government job or reside in the District of Columbia, D.C., or in one of its territories, which I told you was Guam, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa, those are federal zones, and is not involved with an excise taxable activity. Okay, so what's an excise taxable activity? Those are people who sell tobacco, firearms, liquor. Those are called taxable activities. If you don't do that, then you don't have to pay taxes. A state citizen will not have to file a Form 1040 tax return. That's the bottom line. Okay. American nationals and state citizens have the right to send the IRS a revocation of, I'm telling you again, a revocation of election notice or a document that effectively changes their tax status of that of a non-tax payer. When the IRS receives your revocation of election, or ROE, and your 1040 tax status has been corrected, you are not required to file another Form 1040 tax return in future years. You are effectively removed from the IRS taxpayer database. Didn't you know that? So Congress made a way for you to file a revocation of election notice to the Internal Revenue Service and be effective, change your tax status where you no longer have to pay a 1040 form or file a 1040 form or pay another tax. So every April 15th is another day. That's what I think about. April 15th, I forgot it was April 15th. People are running out trying to pay these dumb tax forms. Okay. So here, let me share this with you because I think it's very important. There has never been an income tax law that says filing a Form 1040 and paying income taxes mandatory for state citizens or American nationals not connected to a federal government job or office. That also includes a office like the president, the vice president, or some type of office in the federal government. These people have to file taxes. Income taxes based solely on one's income cannot be mandatory, as this would be in violation of the Constitution and of their DC's 13th Amendment that outlaws involuntary servitude or slavery. Excess taxes is a form of involuntary financial slavery. And how do we know the IRS won't double or triple income tax rates next year? Most people think the income tax is based on the amount of money or income they're made and received during the year. This is false presumptions and not the truth, as income taxes are actually excise taxes on either an excise type or of activity and is involved in or privileged type of income related to a job as a public officer or employee of the federal government domiciled in DC. So everything is operated out of DC, folks. When you filed that 1040 form, you filed it, you gave the federal government jurisdiction because they was nice enough to allow you to be part of the government by you filing that 1040 form and saying you wanted to be a U.S. citizen. And so they made you privy to the United States, which is Washington District, Columbia. They made you part of that by way of filing those forms and giving up your Fifth Amendment privileges to become a U.S. taxpayer. Okay, quote unquote. Okay, so all taxes are either direct or indirect. All taxes related to a Form 1040 are definitely indirect. Taxes based on your involvement in an excise or privilege activity form of income. In 31 USC says income taxes paid to the U.S. Treasury are considered to be nothing more than voluntary donations to the Treasury. Have you ever heard of donations being mandatory? Huh? Have you ever heard of that? I know I haven't. Okay. Federal DC citizens may owe an income tax, but state citizens do not, unless they are involved in excise taxable activity. Remember, I was talking about that excise taxable activity, which generally applies only to corporations and almost never to living men and women living in the states. How about that? So I gave you a bunch of information that you did not know. And I'm sure that you want to know more about it. Now, on the screen, I've got a lady named Kelly Alexander that I'm scrolling right now. And this is her number. You need to talk to Kelly about getting out of the tax system, and Kelly will help you out. You know, my friend Brant, uh, he passed away. He helped me get my paperwork together and everything else. And this was before Kelly came along, and she was trained by Brent. And after he passed away, she began to take over, and she began to be the person, or the go-to person, to talk to about any situation when it comes to the IRS. She's well knowledge. She's got a lot of stuff going on. And what you need to do is give her a call at area code 626-676-6333, and Kelly Alexander will help you out. She also has a website called taxremedy.com. I think that's what it is. But if not, you can still call her and ask her and get her input on whatever's going on with you. She will help you out, and she will help you clear up some mess that you might be in and give you some straight answers. She's legit. She will help you as long as you're willing to get help. And I think that's a great person to go to. She's a very nice woman. She takes care of business, and she would help most of you out. And I hope that the information that I gave you will help you out. And again, do what you do. Stay up, get your business handled, take care of yourselves, love others, and be free from taxation. This is your host, Henry Harris. I'm going to end this right now by saying good night from Up at Night. Good night from Up at Night. And wait a minute, before I go, I want you to do something for me. Remember, I want you to click on my site and give me the ups and tell me how much you appreciate me. Even if you got to send me an email, send me some information. Tell me what you're thinking about. If you really enjoyed what I just gave you, please respond. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a statement. Give me something. All right. I gave you some good information. You'll probably turn over tonight and say, man, he really gave me some great information. Well, I hope so. So anyway, have a good night. This is Henry at Up at Night. Good night.